Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So today's video is going to be a comparison video of two eyeshadow palettes. Both are from Makeup Revolution and this is their reloaded palettes. I have two of them, Neutrals 2 and Neutrals 3. So when you see them side by side, they, at least to me, they looked very similar in the picture. So I have decided I will do a comparison video just in case you have been confused about these two as well. So if you guys are interested to see the comparison swatches and my review, and if you want to know my thoughts on these two palettes, then please continue watching. Alright guys, let's quickly get started with today's video. Before we start, just to let you guys know that there is heavy thunderstorms and rain going on outside, so if you hear some noise in between, then that's what it is, just to let you guys know. Okay, so these are the two palettes I have, the Makeup Revolution or Revolution Beauty. I think they have changed the brand name. So Revolution Beauty reloaded palettes. This is Neutrals 2 and Neutrals 3. Now I have the palettes now, so they don't really look very similar to me, but when I saw pictures, like when I was searching for these two palettes, I was really confused. I thought like these two are probably very similar, like almost the exact same palettes. So that's why I was very curious, so I purchased both of them. Somebody has requested me to do a video on the Neutrals 2 palette, so I will do that also probably in the future, like more looks. In this video I'm going to share two looks with these two palettes and I'll share my thoughts, and I will basically focus on the comparison of the two palettes. Makeup Revolution has been coming out with these reloaded palettes. Like there are quite a few now. I think I have one more, the Velvet Rose palette, and I'm really eyeing the purple one as well, but I'm not going to buy it now. I got interested in these palettes mainly because of Glam Confident. She has been recommending these palettes on her Instagram, so that's why I checked them out and I bought these two myself. And I must say that I was quite impressed with the quality of both of these palettes. I mean, for the price, I think these are great quality palettes. If you're in Singapore, you can get this from Shopee.sg. That's where I purchased from. There are a lot of resellers who are selling these palettes on Shopee.sg, so you can go ahead and check them out, and the price is very reasonable as well. Makeup Revolution palettes, they are really inexpensive in the US, but by the time they come to Singapore, they are priced pretty high, almost like a high-end drugstore palette. But these palettes are priced really well. I think I got both of the palettes at around $12 to $14 range, and definitely for the price, I think these are really good quality. So let's focus on the differences of these two palettes. So here are the two palettes side by side. The one with the black, always remember, one with the black is Neutral 3 and one without the black is Neutrals 2. I will show you a more close-up and comparison swatches just in a few minutes, but let me just share my quick thoughts on these two palettes and how they compare. So this is Neutrals 2. I would say this is more like a very pinky orange eyeshadow palette. Whichever look you do with this palette, you will have a more pinky vibe to it. You have a very nice orange here, so you can get a very nice warm brown orangey look. I would say this palette may not be the most versatile one, because I think the kind of looks which I have done with this palette are very similar to each other. All are very pinky orangey tones. Especially if you're close to my skin tone, I don't think you will get a lot of versatility with this palette. But if you're someone who is looking for some pinks in your collection, or you want to have a really nice orange in your collection, this is a really nice orange, there are nice pinks, so you'll get very soft, like very feminine kind of looks with this palette. Now if you're close to my skin tone, you would not get a lot of depth from this palette. There are these three sort of neutral brown colors, this one, this one, this one. This is not exactly a brown, this is more like a pinky brown, but nevertheless those are the sort of neutral shades, so you can have them all over your eyes and do like a very simple office look. So in my opinion, if you are fair to medium skin tone, you might get a little bit more depth from this palette, maybe a little bit more different kind of looks. But if you're close to my skin tone, this is not the most versatile palette for you. You will get very like monotonous pinky neutral kind of looks. So that's about Neutrals 2. Okay, now for Neutrals 3. So this is how the Neutrals 3 palette looks like. Now when I had seen this palette alongside of this one, it looked pretty similar to me. But if I see this palette, like just analyze this palette, this is a really like a berry toned palette. This is a more pinky tone, a lot of warmth in this palette. This one is also a mix of warm and cool, but it is more berry toned. You get some gold tones here, which is not there in the other palette. And I think the mix of colors which is there in this palette is really interesting, and this is slightly more versatile than the previous one. You also get a really nice black over here, plus those deeper berry shades. They also work really well on my skin tone. So this palette will definitely work much better on tan skin tone, deeper skin tone. You will get more depth in your eye looks, like what I'm wearing today. This is the eye look which I've created using this palette, and I think it turned out great. I think the number of looks which you can do with this palette are significantly more than what you can do with this. And especially I think if you are of my complexion, little bit deeper, I will definitely recommend to you this Neutrals 3 palette, because I think it is more versatile and it works much better on tan skin tone. Having said that, this is also not a bad palette for tan skin tone, especially if you are someone who's looking for like very light neutral looks, some pinks or some brown, like everyday very simple looks. This can also work, and this one obviously will work for a lot of different occasions. You can do everyday looks, simple looks, glam looks. I like this one a little bit more. I just wish that this orange shade from this palette was in the other palette. It would have been just the most perfect palette. I just love this palette because of these 3 shades in here. Really good. Now about the quality of the eyeshadows which are in here, I think the quality is pretty good, especially for the price. I think you get a solid palette. Both of the palettes have a really good thing, is that they are loaded with mattes. So if you love matte eyeshadows, you're going to love these palettes. Now in this palette, in Neutrals 2, I think there are 5 shimmers, 1 2 3 4 5 shimmers, and rest are all mattes. So out of the 15 shadows which are in here, in both the palettes there are 15 shadows. 5 are shimmers and 10 are mattes, and I think it's the same for this palette as well. Out of the 15 shadows here, I think 4 are shimmers. So 1 2 3 4 shimmers, and the rest are all mattes, and the matte colors and the quality is really good. I think this one is like a satin matte shade. So this one is not like a true matte, it's sort of a satin color, but the rest are all shimmers. So I think the quality of the mattes are really good. They are not like the most extremely pigmented mattes, but they are very beginner friendly, and the shadows are buildable. So you can build up the colors really nicely and you don't get a ton of fallout. They blend really nicely. So I am loving the mattes, just that you have to build up. That's about it. And the shimmers, I feel like the shimmers in the Neutrals 3 are a tad bit smoother than Neutrals 2. They are a little bit easier to work with, at least that's what I faced. I have used all of the shades from both the palettes. I think just the shimmers from Neutrals 2, they're just more intense. I think they pack a little bit more punch. And just a little smoother and easier to work with. The shimmers in the Neutrals 2 palette is also not bad. They are also good. You may just have to layer up a little bit more for that extra intensity. So that's how my experience was with these 2 palettes. Both of them last on the eyelids pretty well, but I will still recommend using a primer. I use a primer with all Makeup Revolution shadows. I think they perform much better. I think that's just the way the shadows are. They are not extremely pigmented, so if you add a primer on your eyelid, they will just perform much better. So I would highly recommend using primers with both of these palettes. You'll get a much better color payoff and your shadows will last a longer period of time on your eyelids. And I think without the primer, the shadows don't last as long, but these 2 palettes are still better than some of the other Makeup Revolution products I've used in the past. I think these last pretty well on the eyes. So yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on these 2 palettes. Now let's go ahead and see the main portion of the video, where I'm going to swatch the shadows to show you guys how they compare with each other. So here are both the palettes side by side. You can see how they compare with each other. This one is Neutrals 2 and this one is Neutrals 3. So first of all, I have swatched the shimmer shadows on my arm. I'll show you the differences. So here are all the shimmer shadows swatched on my arm. On the top you can see Neutrals 2 and on the bottom you will see Neutrals 3. Neutrals too, as you can make out from the shimmers, a lot of pinks in there, light pink, deeper pink, a little bit of a white shimmer shade. And the neutrals 3, there are a lot of like berry, plummy, pinky tones. There are 2 pinks. This one is a little bit close to this one. I think that's the only similarity. On the eyes, they somewhat look similar. Other than that, there aren't many similarities between the shimmers. There are some golds in the neutrals 3, which is clearly missing from neutrals 2, and neutral 2 has some pinky white shimmers, which is missing from neutrals 3. Okay, next let's look at the mattes. Next we have the matte shades. Here I have swatched all the mattes on my arm. On the top you have neutrals 2, and at the bottom here you have neutrals 3. So I think just from the swatches you can tell that neutral 3 is a little bit better in terms of swatches. The pigmentation is a little bit better. I did not have to build up too much. This one is probably just 2 swipes. I did not build up a ton. This one is probably 3 swipes. Some shadows like this lighter browns I have swiped 4 times to build up the color. So definitely the pigmentation and the shade tone of neutrals 3 is much better for my skin tone, so that's one reason I will recommend the neutrals 3. Other than that, if I have to compare the shades, neutrals 2 you can see a lot of pinks here, one berry toned pink here, and some oranges, some warm browns, one light pink shade. And neutrals 3 has a lot of berry tones, one of my favorite kind of shades, a lot of berries, some purpley pinks. So a couple of purples here, some berries, a little bit of a deeper pink, some browns, and a light pink. So somehow I'm definitely drawn to the colors of neutrals 3 more than neutrals 2, although I think neutrals 2 is also really nice. So here are the swatches. Some of the common shades, I would say there are a few berry tones which are similar, like these, and these pink is a little bit similar to this one. This is a satin finish in neutrals 3, and then there are 2 browns which are a little bit similar, this brown and this brown, and this light brown and this brown may be a little bit similar. I would say if you have neutrals 3 you may not need neutrals 2, but if you have neutrals 2 you might want to consider neutrals 3 as well, because I feel like this palette is just a tiny bit better in terms of color selection, at least for me. So those are the swatches of the matte shadows. Loving all of these colors. Look at this shade, it's so beautiful. It's a matte berry purple color, so good. Okay, so that's it for the swatches. Okay, so those were the swatches and the comparison of the shadows. I really hope that it was helpful and it helped you in deciding which palette you might be interested in. Just to sum it up, I think both the palettes are really good, especially for the price. They are excellent. I will highly recommend them. Very easy to use, very beginner friendly. So that's it for today's video. I really hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comment section below. I will be happy to answer them. If you liked this video, then please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you're watching me for the first time, I really hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again really soon in my next video. Bye.